Iraq economic news and points to ponder Tuesday afternoon, December 17, 24. Listen to the full version on the official dinarreport.com website and become our supporter on Patreon. An economic expert warns of a rise in the dollar exchange rate in Iraq in the coming days. Baratha News Agency, the 24th of December 17. Economic expert Nasser al-Tamimi warned, today, Tuesday, December 17, 2024, of a rise in the dollar exchange rate in Iraq in the coming days. Al-Tamimi said in a press statement, there are real fears in the Iraqi market of the continued rise in the dollar exchange rate after the suspension of the platform by the Central Bank of Iraq, indicating that this matter will constitute a shock, especially at the beginning of implementing the decision, and will lead to a rise in the dollar, to increase demand for it in the parallel market. He added that, after the platform is stopped, most traders, especially small ones, will depend on the parallel market to finance their foreign trade, while continuing to finance trade with Turkey in dollars through illegal means, noting that this is what will lead to the rise, and therefore practical steps must be taken to prevent this by the country's monetary authority, and urgently. The Central Bank of Iraq revealed on Wednesday, September 4, 2024, the mechanism for ending the electronic platform for foreign transfers, while indicating that the placement of foreign transfer operations and meeting requests for the dollar are on sound paths and consistent with international practices and standards. The bank said in a statement that the electronic platform for foreign transfers managed by the Central Bank of Iraq began at the beginning of 2023 as a first phase to reorganize financial transfers in a way that ensures proactive oversight of them instead of subsequent oversight by the Federal Reserve auditing daily transfers. This was an exceptional measure as the Federal Reserve does not usually do this, and a gradual shift was planned towards building direct relationships between banks in Iraq and foreign correspondent and approved banks, mediated by an international auditing company to conduct pre-audit of transfers before they are executed by correspondent banks. He added that, during the year 2024 and until now, 95% of the transfer process from the electronic platform to the mechanism of correspondent banks directly between it and Iraqi banks has been achieved, which means that only about 5% of it remains within the platform, which will be transferred using the same mechanism before the end of this year and according to the plan. Explaining that some expectations about potential impacts on the exchange rate and transfer operations are baseless, because the process will not be sudden or in one batch at the end of this year, but rather it was originally achieved during the past period with effort and careful follow-up, except for the remaining small percentage that will be completed in the coming short period. He stressed that trade with the United Arab Emirates, Turkey, India and China represents about 70% of Iraq's foreign trade as imports, which prompted the Central Bank of Iraq to find channels for transfer in euros, Chinese yuan, Indian rupees, and Emirati dirhams, through accredited correspondent banks in those countries. And 13 Iraqi banks have actually begun conducting transfer operations with a pre-audit mechanism that has been agreed upon and approved in addition to transfers in dollars. He continued, with the provision of channels for personal transfers for legitimate purposes and external purchases through electronic payment channels and international money transfer companies, and cash sales to travelers, and the payment of cash dollars for incoming transfers to the parties and purposes specified in the central bank's published instructions. The Central Bank of Iraq stressed that it put foreign transfer operations and meeting dollar demands on sound tracks consistent with international practices and standards and the anti-money laundering and terrorist financing law, explaining that providing the aforementioned channels for all purposes at the official dollar price makes this price the true indicator of economic practices, which is proven by the reality of price stability and control of inflation, and any other price traded outside of these channels is an abnormal price that those with unorthodox or illegal practices resort to, who avoid official channels in their dealings, and bear the additional costs alone by purchasing at a higher price than the official price to delude others with the difference between the official price and the other. Gold stabilizes, Fed awaits. Time: the 17th of December 2024, 8 hours 58 minutes and 40 seconds. Reading 897 times. Economic. Al-Farad News. Spot gold prices stabilized today, Tuesday, ahead of the U.S. Federal Reserve's monetary policy meeting. Markets are keenly awaiting the U.S. Federal Reserve's forecasts for clues on the path of interest rates in 2025. Spot gold rose slightly by 0.06% to $2,654.10 per ounce, while U.S. gold futures fell by 0.10% to $2,677.20. The Finance Committee explains the reasons for the central bank's penalties on 49 companies. Import invoice violations. Economy, 4/26 December 17, 2024 Mawazin News. The Finance Committee of the Iraqi Council of Representatives confirmed that the decision of the central bank to punish 49 companies came due to violations in import operations, as it was found that the invoices submitted did not match the value of the imported goods. The central bank had issued directives to banks yesterday preventing these companies from benefiting from external money transfer channels, in a move aimed at limiting manipulation of foreign currency and reducing money laundering operations. In this regard, a member of the Parliamentary Finance Committee, Moeen Al-Kazemi, explained that the central bank sells the dollar at the official price of 132,000 dinars for every $100, provided that there are real imports and the entry of goods into the country. Al-Kazemi added that some companies violate the instructions, as they submit requests to import goods for large amounts, but the goods that reach Iraq are less than the value stated in the invoices, which raises suspicions and leads to the imposition of strict penalties on the parties benefiting from the currency sale window. Dollar prices vary between Baghdad and Erbil with the closure of the Iraqi stock exchanges. Economy, 5 o'clock December 17, 2024 Mawazin News. The dollar price rose in Baghdad markets while it fell in Erbil, the capital of the Kurdistan region, on Tuesday, with the closing of the stock exchange. The dollar price also rose with the closing of the Al-Kifa and Al-Harithia stock exchanges, recording 151,300 dinars per $100, while the dollar price recorded 150,950 dinars per $100 this morning. The selling prices in the exchange sector rose in the local markets in Baghdad, where the selling price reached 152,500 Iraqi dinars per $100, while the purchase price reached 150,500 dinars per $100. In Erbil, the dollar recorded a decrease, where the selling price reached 150,400 dinars per $100, and the purchase price reached 150,300 dinars per $100. After a sudden recession due to Syria, expectations of the return of the Iraqi market movement soon. Time: the 16th of December 2024, 23 hours 19 minutes and 40 seconds. Read 2184 times. Economic. Al-Farad News. An economic expert expects the market to return to activity next week after a temporary recession due to events in the region. Salah Nouri told Al-Farad news agency that the reasons for the recent economic recession in the markets are due to the news circulating about the possibility of U.S. sanctions on the external transfer system, which created fears among citizens and hesitation in buying. He added, the situation may change next week and demand for buying will increase. The Parliamentary Finance Committee ruled out on Monday that the Iraqi economy would be affected by the situation in Syria or the dollar exchange rate in the local market, noting that the government and the central bank have taken several important measures to confront the security and economic challenges in the country, especially in light of the deteriorating situation in Syria. On the 2nd of this month, the governor of the Central Bank of Iraq, Ali al-Ilaq, described the country's monetary position as very excellent, despite the conditions in the region in terms of controlling inflation and the high adequacy of foreign reserves. On the second day of weekly trading, Basra crude rises in the global market. Economy, December 17, 2024 Mawazin News. Baghdad Iraqi oil, Basra crude, recorded a price increase on Tuesday, the second day of weekly trading in the global market. According to international economic data, Basra heavy crude recorded $68.99 per barrel, while the average recorded $72.09 per barrel, with a change rate of plus 0.62, respectively, for February 2025 delivery. The data also showed a slight increase in global crude prices, with British Brent crude recording $73.95, while U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude recorded $70.69 per barrel, with a change rate of 0.04 to 0.02, respectively. Central Bank announces launch of Citizens Complaints Management Platform. Bank's Economy News, Baghdad. The Central Bank of Iraq announced today, Tuesday, the launch of a complaints management platform for citizens. The bank's media office stated in a statement received by Al-Iqtisad News that the Central Bank of Iraq announced the launch of an electronic platform to receive, process and resolve complaints submitted by the public, indicating its keenness to respond quickly to citizens' complaints. He stressed that the launch of the Citizens Complaints Management Platform comes in line with the bank's tireless efforts in the digital transformation process to receive complaints submitted by the public regarding their dealings with the banking sector, providing services, reporting negative cases, and enhancing the supervisory role of this bank. According to the statement, the central bank alerted the public to the possibility of submitting complaints, starting from Sunday, January 5, 2025, through the bank's official website in the Complaints Platform window, or through the government's platform, or the electronic link. 141 Views December 17, 2024. After an interruption of more than 30 years, Iraq wins the chairmanship of the Executive Council of the Arab Investment Company. Economy, December 17, 2024. Mawazin News, Baghdad. The Iraqi embassy in Libya announced today, Tuesday, that Iraq won the presidency of the Executive Council of the Arab Investment Company in the year 2025. The acting chargé d'affaires of the embassy, Ahmed al-Sahaf, told the official agency, in a prominent diplomatic step, Iraq succeeded in winning the presidency of the Arab Investment Company during the 63rd session of the Arab Economic and Social Council, which was held in the Jordanian capital, Amman, to return to this position after an absence of 32 years. Noting that Iraq has not been able to obtain the presidency of the aforementioned company's council since 1992. She explained that this achievement came in accordance with the joint coordination between the Ministries of Foreign Affairs and Industry and within the priorities of the government program of Prime Minister Mohammed Shia al-Sudani, and the emphasis of Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Foreign Affairs Fuad Hussein on repositioning Iraq's role in regional and international organizations, within the multilateral diplomatic path, as well as the strategic planning and management that the Iraqi Ministry of Industry has been pursuing, and in accordance with productive diplomacy, through intensive efforts led by the Iraqi embassy in Tripoli. Headed by the chargé d'affaires, Dr. Ahmed al-Sahaf, who was able to obtain decisive Libyan support to strengthen Iraq's candidacy. Through coordination with the chairman of the Investment Authority in the state of Libya, Dr. Abdul Hakim al-Fattori, who gave Libya's vote to Iraq, which it needed to secure victory. He noted that Iraq hosted the company's Executive Council meetings in 2025 in Baghdad, a step aimed at enhancing Arab cooperation in the fields of industry and infrastructure, and consolidating Iraq's position as a pivotal industrial center. Listen to the full version on the official dinarreport.com website and become our supporter on Patreon. Source: Dinar Recaps.